From South Florida, this is Headliners, only on CBS News Miami.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Headliners. I'm Elliot Rodriguez. President-elect Donald Trump's threat to deport millions of immigrants is stirring fear in South Florida's immigrant community. An immigration attorney says many people allowed into the U.S. by President Joe Biden could soon be at risk of being sent back to their homelands. CBS News Miami's Yvonne Taylor is in Little Havana with more on the story.
That program is called humanitarian parole. Cubans, Nicaraguans, Venezuelans, and Haitians were allowed to come here and stay for 2 years if they had a sponsor within the U.S. But for many of them, the time is almost over.
Nosotros los nicaragüenses.
Us Nicaraguans, Venezuelans, and Cubans came here because we're running away from dictatorial regimes, told me this woman who we'd call Maria. She and many immigrants from those countries entered the U.S. through the southern border. In 2023, those nationals and Haitians made up the largest number of immigrants who saturated the U.S. border with Mexico. This president allowed all those people through the border who messed up our work, told me Elvis Alvarado, an undocumented immigrant from Guatemala who has come to Home Depot to look for work over 10 years. He said he did want Donald Trump to win the presidency because he has not had much work lately. He did not seem worried about massive deportations, though he does not have any status in the U.S.
Groups that are not criminals that I worry the most about are the humanitarian paroles that have come in. And that's a significant number.
Willie Allen is an immigration attorney with over 4 decades of experience. He said almost 600,000 people benefited from the humanitarian parole.
Cubans that came in, which is about 120,000, they're good because they have the Cuban Adjustment Act.
He told me Venezuelans will be protected under a TPS, but 2 other nationalities will not.
Who's going to be touched? The 200,000 Haitians that came in, the 90,000 Nicaraguans that have come in.
Their option will be to apply for political asylum, but Allen says the timing and the new administration are against their odds.
I expect that those applications for asylum and those work permits are going to be a pain for them to get.
And the Trump administration also said that for those who are applying for political asylum at the border, they may very well have to do it again in Mexico, which means relieve the Stay in Mexico program. We are in Little Havana. Yvonne Taylor, CBS News, Miami.
Well, hundreds of people living in a mobile home park in Sweetwater now only have a few months to leave their homes and find a new place to live. But some are saying that they are not going anywhere. CBS News Miami's Anna McAllister is in Sweetwater with reaction from those residents who are angry and devastated.
About 900 families are being forced to move out, and Wednesday, dozens of residents signed a petition. Now, those who move out by January are being offered $14,000, but many people say that it isn't enough and they're not leaving without a fight. A passionate crowd of frustrated residents huddled together on Northwest 112th Avenue in Sweetwater Wednesday night with a straightforward message.
We're not leaving. And the first thing we're doing, we're not paying you our rent.
Tuesday night, residents of Little Abner Mobile Home Park came home to alarming notices on their doors, saying they need to leave their homes by May of 2025 because the park is closing for redevelopment.
I'm not feeling good because I have a son that he has autism, and I'm going through a lot. You know, I got misplaced in 2020 in my mobile home in Gold Coaster, and then I come here and now I get again misplaced.
The notice also says that residents who leave by January 31st will be offered a $14,000 incentive. Those who wait until April or May will only get $3,000 or $6,000, depending on the size of their home. It's an offer residents are refusing.
We need 6 months. 6 months, and we need $50,000 to buy something. With $14,000, we can't do nothing.
Many of the residents have lived there for decades, some of them in their 80s. The mayor of Sweetwater says he too found out about the relocation notices the night it happened.
I am willing, as their mayor, to sit down with the owner of the park that I've known for a very long time. He's always been a decent person to me, and I believe that a conversation is always important to at least start to see if we could delay and give more time.
We reached out to the urban group who owns the park and received this written statement from the president that says, in part, we understand the challenges that come with relocating, whether it's tenants who are moving to another mobile home park or transitioning to brick and mortar housing. But residents say they won't be pushed out.
We're not going to leave. This is injustice, what they're doing to us. Ripping us from our homes and throwing us out to the street.
And the tenants are responsible for paying their rent until the eviction date, which is March 19th, 2025. But for now, reporting from Sweetwater, Anna McAllister, CBS News, Miami.
When we come back, some helpful hints for you to save a few dollars if you plan on hitting the airport this holiday season. That story is coming up next.
From South Florida, this is Headliners, only on CBS News Miami.
Welcome back. I'm Elliot Rodriguez. If you are traveling for the holidays, get ready to shell out a little more money at the airport. The cost of parking is going up at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International. CBS News Miami's Joe Murray joins us from FLL with what travelers can expect to pay.
Parking rates up and away at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International. Starting November 20th, before you carve that turkey, long-term parking goes from $15 to $20 a day. Faster than you can say Happy Thanksgiving.
I'm from New York originally. $20 a day still seems like a bargain to me.
We're going to go $5. I think that is a bit excessive.
Nowadays, everything with the inflation is so bad that we get the hit and we had to continue.
It's a lot, like $15 to $20 a day. You should not do that.
Razor Rahman, who was catching a ride share to Palm Beach County, said the next trip he'll be doing the math to figure out what's cheaper, parking or Uber.
It's not good to raise the price.
The price increase is blamed on inflation. It costs more to operate everything at the airport. Valet is taking a hit too, going from $25 to $30 a day, but still cheaper than Miami International, which raised parking rates 2 years ago, $25 a day for long-term, $39 a day to valet park. Uber driver Mariah Ingram is wondering if the higher airport parking rates will steer business her way.
I hope so, but who's to say?
Paul Stampahar, the ultimate Pittsburgh Steelers fan, returning from a road trip, said the new FLL parking costs may be a budget buster.
We'll think twice. There's no. I sometimes take public transportation. I take the buses too. I do it. I actually have a pass. I'm a senior citizen. It only costs me $1.
You can save money taking the bus here to the airport, but it is a long journey. So if you are planning on parking and you want to do some math, you have to compare, say you're going to be away 2 days, so that'll be $40 for parking versus maybe a rideshare trip that's $50. So that's kind of what you have to weigh. Is it cheaper to park or will it be cheaper to do the rideshare? There's going to be a lot of people doing the calculation over the holiday. Reporting in Dania Beach, Joan Murray, CBS News, Miami.
We all know the economy was one of the big issues driving voters in the recent elections, and a new study shows a reason behind it. It concluded that so many of us are stressed out. A recent study found that 55% of people say worries about personal finances impact their mental health. So I looked into what you can do to ease some of that stress.
When I go buy something, it's too expensive.
Can't afford the insurance.
You're not alone. More South Floridians are feeling the stress of higher food, gas, and housing costs, plus an uncertain future.
People have slowed hiring, so that hurts me in a way.
There are so many people that have to choose between buying dinner or getting health care or paying their mortgage or their rent.
CBS News Election Day exit polling found 45% of those surveyed are in worse financial shape than they were 4 years ago, with inflation causing a severe or moderate hardship for 3/4 of those polled.
Groceries are skyrocketing, prices are going high, but the economy in general is not doing well.
A study published by Empower last year showed more than half of Gen Z and millennials say their finances keep them up at night. So we went straight to a financial expert to find out what you can and should be doing right now.
It's very, very much a matter of control.
of people knowing where their money is going.
Make sure you know how your money is being spent. Use an Excel spreadsheet or a notepad to document every deposit and withdrawal.
Buy a little pad, keep it with you, back pocket, breast pocket, and whatever you spend, note it for about a month. Anything, whatever, any swipe you make, any cash expenditure you make, and then as the month goes by, start to categorize it and see where your money is actually going. And that is really an eye-opener for many people.
And once you do that, stay on top of it. Update your finances routinely so you can see how spending habits have changed. There's also this piece of advice when getting a hold of your finances and financial stress.
When you begin this kind of a process, leave the past behind. You start working on this, work from shoulders forward. What happened behind you happened. It's okay. We don't need to revisit it.
Great advice, and there are other things you can do to get a handle on your financial stress. Decide what's really important for you. Then make a financial plan and stick to it. And like with other stressful life situations, talk to someone to help figure out how to resolve it. And in this case, it can be a financial expert or a licensed therapist, or maybe both. When we come back, we are honoring the men and women who served our nation and are forever making Miami proud as well. Stay with us.
From South Florida, this is Headliners, only on CBS News Miami.
Welcome back. I'm Elliot Rodriguez. Students across the country walking to school to commemorate civil rights icon Rudge Bridges. The event commemorates 64 years since the 6-year-old little girl walked into a school in New Orleans, kicking off integration at schools all around the South. CBS News Miami photojournalist Rafael Murciano shows us Rudge's lasting impact.
Well, today we're having a Rudge Bridges Walk to Freedom rally. And basically what it is, it's an opportunity for us to pay homage to Rudge Bridges, who was one of the first African Americans in 1960 to desegregate schools in the South. Schools in the South still weren't desegregated, right? And so Rudge Bridges, along with others, were supposed to walk on one particular day with some law enforcement folk from the federal government. All the other families backed out because of threats of violence and those types of things. But Rudge Bridges, this 10-year-old young child in New Orleans, Louisiana, she made the walk along with her mother and these law enforcement officers to desegregate schools in New Orleans, Louisiana. It was a big deal because she had no idea the significance of it at the time at 10 years old, but she understood the value of what she had to do, and she was brave enough to do that. We're starting the march here at Holmes Elementary, and we're walking to, the very highly touted, well-respected Miami Northwestern High School. And in their Theater of the Performing Arts, we'll have people to talk about that. We'll have folk from Google and other really high-level technology companies that are going to be talking to our students about why it's important to understand math. We're going to be honoring math students. We want to be able to lift them up so people can see that it's cool to be smart.
Very nice. And with Veterans Day wrapping up last week, we honored the men and women who will forever make Miami proud. According to the National World War II Museum, only about 119,000 Americans who fought back then are still alive. That's about 1% of the 16.4 million who served. Tony Perini is one of them. He is soon to be 102 years old and living quite the decorated life right here in South Florida. CBS News Miami's Trish Christakis paid him a visit.
Born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, to Sicilian immigrants, Tony Perini eventually made his way to South Florida with his late wife, Anna, after their wedding.
And this was only about a year after the war. That's how soon we left New York.
At nearly 102 years old, this World War II Navy vet displays his pride of faith and country all over his home. Even these planes hanging in his room, made by hand in remembrance of his time in the military.
I was what they refer to as a machinist mate.
But if you ask him what he's most proud of, it's not the long list of military accomplishments or this patent he made for ships here in South Florida.
I guess when it comes down to it, my family, I am so proud of my children, the highlight of my life.
A father of three, his daughters, Regina and Roseanne, in awe of his accomplishments, not only in the Navy, but in their home growing up.
Even on his days off, he would be trying to learn Spanish. He would be studying night school, but he was also a very involved father, too.
They also have a brother, Roy, who lives with schizophrenia. In the 60s, there wasn't as many resources as there are now for children and adults living with mental illness.
And my parents were part of maximizing not just my brother's abilities, but all individuals who have limitations.
Perini and his late wife took it into their own hands to find a way to make life for their son normal. He says if it weren't for his wife's medical background, it would have been hard to diagnose.
I had no training in this. None of us had training, you know. You got to have the empathy, the understanding.
He even became the president of CAMI, an organization in South Florida that he helped create for mental illness in a time where it wasn't as accepted as it is today.
You're going to go in and help somebody, especially if it's your family. You want to go into it as deeply as you can to be more beneficial as possible.
A veteran, father, grandpa, great-grandpa, and mental health advocate with an inspiring story. In Miami, Trish Christakis, CBS News, Miami.
Mr. Perini makes us all proud. And thank you for joining us this half hour on Headliners. As always, keep it right here to CBS News Miami for up-to-the-minute breaking news and weather 24 hours a day. And make it a great day.